This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
As a trailblazer in the industry, Daniel Heider recognizes that people are as much as a brand as the properties they represent. By combining deep market expertise, seriously sophisticated approach to social media, Heider has redefined luxury real estate experience. For him, the narrative behind the property and how it's shared is just as vital as the history itself. From a record-breaking multi-million-dollar year, selling almost $500 million in 2024, our guest today is none other than Daniel Heider. Welcome to the Keyed In Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Brent Jackson.
And I am Lauren Davis, your co-host for the day.
You are not Max Rabin.
No, I am not. No, I am Lauren Davis, and I'm a sub.
The sub. Excellent. We'll jump right into it. We have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Mr. Daniel Heider with us today. He is coming off a phenomenal year, maybe like the best year of any real estate agent in the Washington, D.C. area. Daniel, close to 450 or over 450 million under contract and sold?
Under contract and sold 487.
Almost 500, almost $500 million in real estate.
Yes. And I'm still standing.
Yes.
And you're here with us to share all about it.
And you look great. Doesn't look like it killed you getting that done.
No, I mean, it was a great, celebration and a great success to be able to tout that at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Our whole team is excited. So thank you for having me today.
Excellent. I mean, let's just jump right into it. So, what do you do for your team? I mean, you guys had a $500 million a year career or $500 million a year. So what are you doing for the team?
Well, look, this is all about a, cup of opportunity that continues to grow, and that opportunity overflows to the people, who dedicate themselves, to my company and our practice every day. So what I do for the team is provide opportunity. And I see that as, being a lot of our key to success, right? I mean, sharing, looking for opportunities to expand everybody on the team. This isn't a kingdom, it's a company. And I'm growing that in a way that has been really fulfilling to watch the everyday lives of so many hardworking people change pretty dramatically.
But do you do anything, I'm thinking, what's the movie with Matthew McConaughey and you're jumping up on a table screaming, if we get this, we're going to Paris or Disneyland.
Disneyland. I can so see you going to Disneyland.
I'm going on a Disney cruise.
For a different reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But no, look, we started off 2024. There was a lot of doubt and hesitation, I think, in the industry at the beginning of 2024. And one of the things that I have always held myself accountable to is my own and our own creative power. Despite what happens for, hypothetically, you or one or another agent or another firm or another, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen to me. And so, while folks were really concerned with, of course, the NAR changes that had yet to be announced, and the economy being where it was, and inflation being where it was, and interest rates being where they were, I got on our very first team call of 2024, and I said, this is going to be our best year ever. We're going to do more business in 2024. And nobody else is going to tell me otherwise. And I need you to join me in this mentality. We are here to provide a service. We are the people who the market looks to when there's doubt. And looking at 2024, across the board, it was a very challenging time economically for the housing market in our country. And so we see these numbers as a defiance of the odds, I guess, but a very deliberate creation. So look, I think if you're going to go somewhere, you have to know that you're going to go there. And so this isn't something that I'm like, oh my God, wow, like I can't believe we made it to $487 million. I had been working 7 days a week, just like everybody on my team, for this.
It wasn't like a surprise Oscar.
No.
Right.
And by the way, you know, we didn't hatch out of an egg with these type of performance metrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been at this for 17 years. And
I've known you since then.
Yes, you have.
Yes.
Yes, you have, since the good old days.
Well, I would say, you know, a lot of listeners today probably have heard you speak on other podcasts. But I would say one of the things about Daniel that is so, I think, genuine and fascinating is that he came into this business knowing that he had for, you know, lack of a better term, an obsession with luxury. He never denied it. He wanted to represent the finest things, and he had that mindset from the very, very first day 17 years ago.
Yes.
And there are people going, yeah, I don't think so. I doubt that's going to work out for you. And it's back to just making that, you know, manifestation of 2024, we're going to do better than we ever have. 17 years ago, I'm going to sell the best houses. And people are going, what? So I guess if we could back up for 1 second before we go forward, is when you started in the business 17 years ago, what made you decide that that was going to be your aspiration, to sell the nicest, finest, most luxurious things?
You know, Philip White, the CEO of our company, says it perfectly, so succinctly, that, you know, luxury is a feeling and not a price point, right? And while that's from, you know, a big corporate giant, it's the fact. And feeling great is what gives you creative power to manifest everything. That's another fact. So I never thought that I needed to be limited by only selling condos or only selling in a certain neighborhood, or, you know, limiting kind of how far this career could take me. I just always wanted to sell the most interesting things for the most interesting people. And I have surrounded myself in, I guess, you know, luxury. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, I'm laying on a chaise lounge getting fed, you know, grapes and being fanned by, you know, people. I
hope
that.
You are.
But I mean, at times maybe.
Yes.
But no. Look, it's being thoughtful. You know, I mean, I think of luxury a lot. I mean, I was coming back from a trip recently. I was watching the safety video on a United Airlines flight coming home.
Was this in first class or back in coach?
They show the same video, don't they?
They do, yes. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, like, I don't really ever pay attention to those things, right? But I found myself watching the whole video, and it was this guy who, like, he was in the flight tower, and he dropped this little ball through the flight control thing, and then you follow the ball, and it goes through the safety briefing, and it's very interesting, and there's all sorts of things happening, and I thought to myself, wow, I paid attention to this entire video. It was so interesting in how they laid this out. And then there's another company, you know, Company B, that is doing it a very different way, right? Yeah. Seatbelt goes like this. These are your exits, right? And it's the same thing, but it's not at all the same thing.
It's the presentation.
It's a very, very different thing. And I am the kind of consumer myself who, look, we just got back from Paris yesterday. We stayed in this great hotel. There's this little bakery that was associated with the hotel. And we brought back madeleines for some of our special friends from this place. And look, we waited in line for a long time to get those madeleines. We paid a lot of money to get those madeleines. But when and they were the same, you know, it's a madeleine is a madeleine, right? Not really. The madeleines that we bought were in these beautiful boxes that were wrapped in tissue paper. And you should have seen the graphic design, the way that they had, you know, the artwork of like the chef on the front wearing sunglasses and like them holding the Madeleine like this, and the quality of the paper that they used, and you can tell the quality of the ingredients were also, you know, of the highest caliber. So I am a consumer that prefers, I would pay $25 or 30 euros for a box of 3 Madeleines there all day long, then pay, you know, I don't know, half the price to get it in a plastic bag that isn't as special. I like things that are special. I like thought. I like intention. So I wanted to build a business that was thoughtful and intentional and designed to be consistent. And you know, all of this to say, what made you focus in this, you know, luxury space is that I like to feel good, and I like my clients to feel really good, and I like them to feel a humongous sense of value when we are at the helm of a transaction. When it comes down to assigning 6 or 4 or 5% of your home's equity as a fee, they should feel really, really good about that. So there was the opportunity. And I could look out onto a sea of really established professionals at the time at the firm where we were. And I could see all these amazing examples of people who had built incredible careers selling that kind of real estate. So if it was true for them, why wouldn't it not be true for me? And, you know, I mean, I think we can all agree here, being in the same industry, in the same place, starting out and having big aspirations and big dreams, you know, it's a part of the process if you want to make something happen. And let's not forget, you know, we're here celebrating this, you know, $487 million year, but, you know, I haven't forgotten what it took to make that happen. I haven't forgotten being maligned for years on my social media videos and reading articles in Washingtonian from agents that, you know, didn't want to be public facing, talking about how if, you know, social media goes in the direction of Daniel Heider, I'm moving to California.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I don't forget those moments.
Right.
And those moments were so important for me because they have fueled so much of this. I'm like, just keep your head down, keep working hard, keep staying focused, keep delivering the level of quality that is true for you, and eventually you'll set the pace.
And you have, absolutely. The other question I have is, as a child, 12-year-old Daniel, were you obsessed with luxury items yourself? Or when do you feel like you
Totally.
had? Yes. Okay. So this goes way back.
Totally. I mean, my favorite thing was, you know, like watching the Food Network when I was a kid, and I love to cook. And, you know, my Aunt Tammy tells stories of, you know, me cooking an omelet and then like plating the omelet perfectly. You know, I mean, like that's just, I've just been interested in things that are special. It's not like it has to be the most expensive. It's not like it has to be the most opulent thing. I think luxury is, you know, again, a level of thoughtfulness. So yeah, I've always been interested in things that are just a little, uncommon. And 12-year-old, you know, Danny Heider was certainly interested in all of those things. I mean, I was interested in a big world ahead of me and where I was going to travel and where I was going to go and the people that I was going to meet. And yeah.
It's also the attention to detail. I mean, you just described the omelet. I mean, having it perfectly positioned on the plate and then having the story you just told. You have to be that way in the industry as well, where there's a lot of agents that they can put a deal together, but they can't keep it together. They can get a listing on the market, but they can't get it sold. There's a lot of cracks that they fall through. So, I mean, your attention to detail, starting with yourself and seeing your team out in the field, I mean, everything is like perfectly executed.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
It's true.
We've worked really hard at it. You know.
So are you teaching? I'm just curious, like, what does a Daniel Heider meeting look like? I mean, are you giving them tips along the way, or they just know to expect?
Oh God, yes. I mean, we've built this brick by brick. You know, I remember, and this isn't, you know, necessarily the case on every single thing now, but, you know, I would go through every single virtual tour myself. I wrote all of the copy myself for every single email, for every single pamphlet, for every single social media post, for everything, right? I was behind all of that.
So hard to do all of that.
It is. But you know what? Look, so much of cultivating success is by building a team and building a structure and building, a system that leverages your time, because that's what this is. This is just about how can we best utilize each other's, specific, strengths to harness like a great result for ourselves and the clients that we serve, right? So, speaking to Sean, and when he first started working in sort of a marketing capacity, I would bring up MLS photos of listings that I thought were atrocious, like images that I thought were really terrible. And I would say to him, okay, what's wrong with this photo? And then we would go frame by frame. Okay, look, the grass is splotchy over here. There's a big, patch of brown grass. There's a big, power line here. That bed is not made perfectly. I don't know about you, but luxury is a part of what residential home sales is. It is everything. It is emotional. It is where you live. It's an investment where you live, where you wake up every single day. Mm-hmm. And so if we're not sending the vibration of this is the perfect place to live, what are we doing representing people's hopes and dreams at the end of the day, right? So much of the value that we create is perceived value. There's, of course, comps and, general market statistics, bricks and mortar, the value of a home, as determined by the zip code that it's in and the square footage and the materials that are used. And then there is a perceived value. And that is a layer of value that we do a very good job of
taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Making it perfect and beautiful.
Yeah. And then looking at the elements of things that, I feel like that I was maybe inspired by, that I could fold into my practice, whether it was, I don't know, having an offering of, something to eat, or a cold water in the summer, or a cold towel, or, just little grace notes that make a big difference when somebody's trying to make a very emotional decision, right?
So how did you start to make the contacts within that circle?
I think I've always had a lot of, look, I began my whole working career when I was even a restaurant server. I wanted to work in the best restaurants. I wanted to know, and I remember in the restaurant industry, the managers in the restaurants that I would work for, they would have these little meetings with me before my shift, and they'd be like, look, okay, this is the wine list. I need you to sell the, 2000 and blank Chateau, Neuf de Pop. We really need to get this one off the menu. Like, can you help us get this? And I'm like, okay. So I would study the winemaker. I would study the appellation. I would study, the tasting notes. I wasn't even legally supposed to be drinking alcohol, right? And then I would confidently approach these tables in a pressed outfit, and I would sell the bottle of wine. And so I've always been in an atmosphere where there's a little bit of pressure, right? Where, it's a performance, and everything is a performance. Everything that you do in life is a performance. Look, I just always was attracted to, I guess, quality and learning about it. And it just, look, when you're in a restaurant with people that are paying $100 for a steak, which, by the way, is where my very first referral came from. I was working in a restaurant. A guy who used to frequent my section at lunch every day referred me a $3 million seller. That was my first transaction. And so...
Are you still working at the restaurant?
I was. And, when I met you, I was working in a restaurant. Most people didn't know that, but...
I'm just curious, like, how does that play out? I'm thinking, I'm going to give you my $3 million asset while you're also serving steak to other people. I mean, like, I could see how did you overcome that obstacle?
well, it was never an obstacle for me. I first of all had the great fortune of working for other really smart real estate agents, where I knew that my that the path for me learning the quickest and becoming a great agent was to promote that person immediately. Because what was I going to do? A 20-year-old server in a restaurant. It wasn't about me. It was about, who that person was. And I would sell them, and I would say I'm working for them, and they're incredible. And you should, if you know anybody that is, looking to make a move, like, give us a call. He's excellent. Like, let us come out. And I mean, I'm learning clearly, and that's how it gets started. I didn't make $1, by the way, on that transaction. I didn't feel entitled to make $1 on that transaction, by the way. And I worked for years, as you know, and I didn't make any money for years. And so, look, back to beliefs. Maybe this isn't as, structured as, people are hoping for, but it is a mindset, right? What's possible for me is possible for me because I know that it's possible for me. And I am actively focused on that, right? I'm actively focused on making that my reality. And so, I have also put a huge amount of attention into taking care of the little business at that time that I would get, like nobody else. I wasn't, some big kahuna real estate agent that had a big repertoire of sales in every jurisdiction. But what I could control was taking really, really, really great care of them. And that's how this all started, was, me understanding what I could control and controlling it really, really, really well. So how did I meet, these people? That's a multi-dimensional question. I don't think it was just like, hey, I worked in a restaurant, or I did. Sales begets
contact by contact.
Contact by contact, and then people believed in me from an early age. I mean, some of the biggest clients that I ever cultivated early on in my career, these were from friends who put me in touch with their clients and their friends and family members. It wasn't like I just did one thing.
Right.
I was doing everything.
Right. And if you did it well, it was
life.
going to continue to come your way, like through those contacts.
Yeah. And then once you sort of establish yourself a little bit more, and folks can see the difference in the marketing, and you can hold an open house and they can walk in and you can shake their hand and they can get a quick perception of who you are and kind of how you operate, then things start to multiply. Then you build a team, then you just build on that.
Were there ever years or times where you weren't sure? It sounds like you wouldn't be the person not to be sure of yourself and to fight for it, but were there times in the beginning where you were like, maybe I should take another path, or you just didn't turn from it?
No. Mm-mm. The only thing that I could tell you that was a question mark, which I'm glad now looking at it, is that I was like, should I do this in New York or should I do this in DC? And
was this early on, or it was early on?
Yeah, very early on. And I'm so glad that I did it here. I don't have any regrets. Everything teaches me lessons, good and bad. And look, I'm not going to say that I don't have self-doubt. I'm not going to say that things aren't hard and I didn't want to give up on certain things, and it wasn't like taxing to do the type of things that I was doing, and it wasn't emotionally draining, and it wasn't financially draining, and it was like of course that's a part of entrepreneurship.
Right.
Why shouldn't this be hard? Why shouldn't this be hard? Look at what we do. Look at what we get to do every day. This should be hard. And if you're going to, want to be the top of anything, you don't show up and say, I want to be in the Super Bowl and think that that's going to be easy street getting there. You're going to train 7 days a week, all day, and you're going to be on the right team.
Right.
And you're going to, dust yourself off when you fall and when you break a bone and you heal, and certain things are going to put you out for a little bit, but you're going to keep on moving. And I know that. I know and I also have had time on my side because I started, really young. So I knew and I was aware of that time game, and it's certainly compounded into a lot,
Right.
but deliberately.
So now that you've come off of a great year, does the team sit down and project for 2025? Did you do planning? Do you guys goal set? How do you prepare for 25 coming off of 24?
Well, I think you look back at all of the times. Obviously the successes are a little bit more emboldened. And then you look at the things that you could have done better, the places where you could have, conserved more time, where you could have taken an opportunity to the next level. I have, once again proclaimed this year that it's going to be a different year of success. It's going to be, and look, I'm not saying that I plan on rolling back numbers, but, I think that the reason why, I have these incredible people around me that work on our team is that they want to be pushed. They want more. They want to keep going. I don't want to be involved on in an atmosphere where it's like you get to a certain sales number and you're like, well, that's just not for me. That doesn't mean that it's bad to think that way. That's just not for me.
Complacency.
Yeah, that's
Right.
just not for me. That's okay.
Right.
I want to figure out where we can go next, what we can
Right.
do next. And
So you want to build on 24. Are your
completely.
goals to beat it?
Completely. I mean, look, I have named this 2025 the year of, embracing sacrifice. That every year has in our little, company has a theme. We've had the year of clear. This is the year of embracing struggle. And that is, going back to what I said, a necessary, vital component of, doing well. You want to sell $500 million a year? Fantastic. You can do that. Here are a couple examples of people who have done it. What are you going to be sacrificing to make that happen? What is it? What is a sacrifice? Are you going to be spending more money on your marketing this year? Are you hiring that assistant that you're avoiding because it's $75,000 a year that you're just a little uneasy to give up on? Are you going to share that big listing with that person on your team? Right? Like I told you, look, I'm building a company, not a kingdom. I want everybody on my team and everybody in this environment to be a star, a power player. And that's what I feel like. I feel like what's emerging is I feel like the Berry Gordy of residential real estate. And I've got my own, Michael Jackson and my own Supremes and my own, like my own star power within my own company. And I want to keep cultivating that. And a big part of that is sharing with them what it takes to do that, right? I mean, what are you going to give up? What are you going to sacrifice? And then embracing that and knowing that when you're in the moment of, God, this is so expensive, I don't know if this is going to work, or, oh my God, it's another night of working till, 11 o'clock at night. That's a part of the embrace. Like, it's working. Congratulations. Good job.
Busy. Yep.
Keep it up.
Yep.
Keep it up. Right? So
I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't ask, and you don't have to tell us publicly, but you mentioned you mentioned that you're the Berry Gordy, but like TTR Sotheby's would be the RCA or whatnot. Like, you're building a company. I mean, I'm sure that you've given it thought, or just pondered in your mind, like, could I do this on my own? Should I do this?
Do you want to be the next Ryan Serhant?
Exactly, right. That's a great question.
So I don't know what the future holds for me. But what I can tell you is that, look, I've done things differently based on my intuition my whole life. And while we're talking about Ryan Serhant, I also, just for the record, while everybody's listening to this, I launched Heider before Serhant. I just want to be very, very clear. I was the leading agent who came out and launched my last name. I launched it at the DuPont Circle Hotel. This was almost 8 years ago. I know that Ryan Serhant reached out to a lot of my vendors that I was working with. And hey, if I could inspire a little bit of, Ryan Serhant, great. Maybe I didn't. Maybe this is happenstance. Maybe this is all a fluke. But I want, if your question means, have I thought about doing things, on my, I am the Heider company. We are all companies. You are a company. Lauren Davis, you are a company. And Brent Jackson is a company. I'm just very clearly stating that I'm very, very different, and that I have an infrastructure that is very, very different. And the way that we approach marketing is very different. And the way that we approach creative advertising and digital advertising is very different. So look, I am always going to hang my hat on the differentiators. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to blend in. I am here to stand way out.
Yes.
Way, way, way out. Yeah. So
do you think that could be, is it like lightning in a bottle? Like, could you go teach other people to do it? Like,
I hope so.
Could you take, do you feel like it could be replicated? Because you're so
Totally.
dynamic and convincing. So not everyone could do it, even if they had access to your vendors per se, or certainly people could imitate, but I wonder how much of that could be replicated. But like, I think back to where we used to work, for the firm that we used to work for, who I think at the time was a leader in presentation and branding. And at that place, they wanted everyone to beautifully present the properties, beautiful photos. They were leading edge on that. They wanted the agents to be uniform. There was no space for Daniel Heider at that point in time. And that was something in that setting that I did feel like could be replicated pretty well, right? Because they had a way of running business, a way of doing listing appointments, all the things that they taught, which I'm sure are very much ingrained in you, and they're ingrained in me, and I still use some of that. Like, that was an easy copy paste.
Sure.
There's an it factor about you that I think, yes, there are things that people could copy, but there is a bit of the genuineness there that I think would be hard for someone to.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. You asked a question earlier. I will get back to this. You asked a question earlier.
Okay.
You asked a question. This all ties in, promise. You asked a question earlier about looking ahead at 2025. When I think about what I personally want to change, want to embrace more, right? Which bleeds into everything because I'm the head of this organization.
Right.
It's being even more authentic. Like, I am naturally a hospitable, polite person. I want my clients to feel good when we're interacting. I want to be able to convey, optimism and hope and confidence. And I want to be able to, lead a conversation in a certain energy. But I also realize that, when there's so much on the table now, there's so much to get done in a day's time, that sometimes a lot of it can be pretty, at least to me internally, can feel like robotic. It's like I'm having the same conversation, and I want to challenge myself to be even more authentic. That's why I'm answering the questions the way that I'm answering them with you today. Trust me, I could have given you canned everything, 100%, and I've done that. All right. First of all, I hope to inspire people. I hope to show them a path and to illuminate, what's possible. If it can happen to me, it can certainly happen to anyone. And more so than that, not only am I hoping to create that, I want to foster that and empower that in my own organization. I am looking for the next Daniel Heider. When I see that, I'm like, come over here. Come on over here.
Are they out there? This was a question we were talking about you before you got here. And I said, it would be so interesting. Part of it is, it's sort of a 2-3-part thing where it's like, what do you say to those people? And we can go through this, but what do you say to those people who were your doubters or haters on you, which we touched on just for a hot second. And then it's like, what would you say to someone who wants to be like you? And then do you see the next you out there?
Yeah.
Is it on the horizon out there? It's like, coming from where you started to where you were building it and people are hating on it to now people want to be you. Isn't that an amazing ride?
And it's awesome.
Yes.
And to answer the first part of the question, what do I say to the haters and the doubters? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean that. Like, thank you.
It's like Michael Jordan. You'll be on your Hall of Fame speech, and you'll bring all those people to your speech. And thank you.
I'm like
front row.
I am celebrating it because when I look back, and trust me, it's not like I was, Gandhi in those moments, like being like, thank you so much for teaching me this horrific lesson of stabbing me in the back and, like hoping and lying about me and spreading gossip and rumors and, like trust me, it's not that we forget.
Right.
We never forget.
No.
We learn. We understand. And I understand that, what has happened, what is my life has shown me in every sense, not even in just real estate, and whether it was in the restaurant or working in a retail environment, that sometimes when your light shines bright, it can be threatening. And that's a tough thing, I feel, for other people, because people are just reckoning with their own mortality. That's just it. They see me, this big social media thing, and young and doing all these big listings and has this great team, and I can understand that can be a seismic tremor for a lot of people to feel, and I don't.
But it's about them.
Yes.
And you understand that, like, entirely. I think being able to be genuinely happy for someone else. Well, I think that's a good trait about myself. Side note, but I think it's sometimes that's hard for people. Like, I am so genuinely happy for you, and I'm so genuinely happy for you on all fronts. And I'm happy when Brent has a success. It doesn't take away from mine.
Right.
It's not a zero-sum game, but the people who see it that way, it's something inside them that threatens them in some way, shape, or form, that he has that, so therefore I cannot.
And that's unfortunate, because it's just not the case.
How about he has that so I can too?
100%.
He has that so I can learn, and 100%. And that comes back to lightning in a bottle. Can this be replicated? Can I be a young person, coming out of college and want to get into the real estate industry and watch you and start down that path and maybe learn something? Yes, maybe, but I still think there's something to you specifically.
Oh, thank you. Look, thank you. I would never, ever in a million years trade some of the experiences that I've had, especially, seemingly negative experiences up front in my real estate career. Never, if I could go back. Because it's just what pushed me even harder.
Right.
I am somebody who, if I feel like tension or like I really want to make something happen, like I just do. So the more of that like pent up energy that I had, the more I did, and
just, it was motivating.
Completely. And look, my story is mine to write, and I also know that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. I've had dear friends of mine pass away early. I know. I try to feel good. I love being a bon vivant. I love celebrating things in a fabulous way. I love throwing a great party. I love putting on an amazing Brokers Open. I love giving promotions and watching people within my organization sprout up like, or shoot up like a bottle rocket. I love that. And so, that's all I want to create. That's the only thing that I want to be involved with. Everything outside of that isn't mine to control.
So would you say you like managing a team?
I have the most incredible people. And I'll tell you, I've been really careful to protect this really special group of people.
Yes. You like it.
I mean, I have people that help me do this, right?
All right.
Like, I've got an amazing group of people that help me do this. There is no way I could ever possibly do what I do or did last year without them. No way. It's just not possible.
Right.
So, has it been really hard? Yes. It's also been worth it. It's been worth it. You know, I did have an understanding, and I don't know where I got this from, but it was just an understanding that if I could just, if I could really build it with the right people and make it consistent and just keep at it and keep the right people in house and keep the systems and keep the protocol and then map it out so that I wasn't having to recreate the wheel on absolutely everything. And, look, one of the first things that I will say is that you have to be generous. You have to pay people correctly. Nobody's working for free. Nobody's working for a small stipend. If you want the best talent, pull out your wallet and work hard to keep them and to appreciate them. All of these things are, look, this isn't like I'm giving you some ancient pearl of wisdom. This is just life.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you want the things that you want, like a great team or, the better infrastructure, you create it and you embrace those sacrifices to make that happen. So what's it going to take? And you learn from people.
Have you had instances where someone wasn't a fit for the team and you've identified that pretty quickly? Certainly. Or over time?
Oh, certainly.
Yes.
Certainly. That's happened several times. I mean, God, my very, very, very first assistant ever, God, I liked her so much. She was so sweet. And I remember, I let her go at Cafe Milano. I was like, I really like you. Like, I really like you a lot. Like, but I knew it wasn't a fit. You have to make hard decisions if you're going to get what you say you want.
Right.
And I understand that. And having a hard conversation with someone or identifying very quickly that this is not going to be a fit is something that I am very comfortable getting into, right? It's just like, I don't know. I feel like I have to protect this really amazing thing. And if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. And that's okay. I mean,
right. Moving on.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
but sometimes people think that sometimes people have an idea of what it's like to be involved with the Heider company that is some figment of their imagination.
Right.
Right.
That it's going to be all fun and glamour and not hard
see on
work.
TV.
Right. You're never going to work harder.
Right.
If you want to work with me. Never. And there's also a lot with that that comes out of that. But it's not for everyone.
I want to pivot real quickly only because you had the highest sell in the history of the DMV with Brett Barron. I saw him at the basketball game. I almost wanted to walk up to him and ask him about that, but I did not. But I'd like to know how it came to your play. How did you guys even choose the price? I mean, it's such a unicorn out there. How did you guys go about pricing it, and then how did he come to you?
At the time that I listed 2,400, there had only ever been 18 homes above $20 million that have ever sold in DC, Maryland, and Virginia in the Bright MLS history, ever. Of the 18 homes, the average year that those 18 homes that have sold were built was around 1,900 average year.
Oh, wow.
Right? We looked at the lot size, we looked at the bedrooms, we looked at exactly where, we looked at all of these things. And the thing that stood out to me was that nothing that had ever come on the market was that new. This house was, completed in 2022. And it was a $6 million teardown site. There was an existing house, so they bought the land pretty much for $6 million. And then they spent 3 years re-engineering the whole thing. I mean, they built a false road to crane in and truck in, concrete and steel. And I mean, it was a marvelous undertaking. What you make up for what you make up for in maybe the fact that it wasn't in Georgetown proper, or that it wasn't, 5 acres by suburban standards, right? You make up for in quality. And that house, did you ever get a chance to walk through that house? That's a damn shame. That's a real damn shame, because that house is the pinnacle. I mean, truly, truly just marvelous, marvelous. I spent a lot of time researching that house. I interviewed everybody who touched that house, everyone. I called the landscape architect and I spoke to them on the phone for, a little over an hour. I called the architect, David Jones, who had retired, same thing. Of course, Michael Banks. I became intimately familiar with exactly how that house was built, what the inspiration was. Thomas Pheasant, same thing. So I knew that house better than even they did. I mean, I knew the materials in every room and everything. Looking at the great homes of Washington, and the fact that, it was a standout. It was easy to price above $30 million. You add to that the fact that, Brett is this iconic, notable American journalist that, brought a level of attention to the house just by him being the creator and the owner of the house. It was an easy decision. And by the way, this is what I do, right? I mean, if you're walking into a listing appointment looking at comps, I'm sorry to tell you, you're fired.
Right. If you need a map to get there, you're fired.
You're not getting it. And anyone who really understands that set of the market knows that the DC market north of $20 million is about availability. It's rarity of availability. It's like these properties, they don't come to market. And when they sell, by the way, usually the people that buy them are institutional type folks, right? Like the major names that you've read about that have bought these global CEOs. Let's not forget, of course, foreign entities, they become consulates, they become ambassadorial residences. So that means that they never come back on the market, pretty much. They're held for generations. They're held for decades and decades. So the fact that that was even an option on the market was the miracle. That was the big news. The fact that it was even on the market and even available to purchase was what the conversation needed to be about. Not about the fact that it was a historic.
That's good. I like
it.
That.
It's not spin.
That is a fact.
Right.
And I lead tours now frequently with people who are looking for, they're used to, other metropolitan markets and seeing things, and there's just not a whole lot here. So when they come on market, you got to make a move. And I think that demonstrated that pretty well.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
We could use some more of those, it sounds like.
Yeah. We've got a couple up our sleeve right now. Just stay tuned to the MLS the next couple of weeks.
Oh, exciting. Good.
Daniel, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy and you've got a lot in store for 25. So you're very grateful for your time. We're grateful for your time. So thank you for coming out. We're going to do a rapid fire here a little differently this time because you've been on the show. This is your third time. These are acronyms for real estate agents. See if you can get these.
Oh, God.
The first one's very easy. FSBA. What is FSBA?
MLS. Huh.
These are all below your pay grade because you're not dealing in this.
For sale by owner.
For sale by owner. What about GCAR?
Oh, Greater Capital Association Realtors.
ABR.
No idea.
Accredited Buyer Association.
Okay, fantastic.
New to me too.
CMA.
Comparative Market Analysis.
And then GRI.
That's gross. I don't know. GRI.
He doesn't do those.
Graduate Realtor
What?
Institute.
Oh, they have those on their business cards.
Oh, well, yeah, that's why I wouldn't know it. That's why I would not know it. That's why I wouldn't know.
That was extra classes we didn't take.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're
I mean,
still
I was
hired. It's like you don't need
totally,
that stuff anyway.
totally. I was passing notes with Lauren in that section. Yeah, like, love you. I was sending you a Valentine in the middle of the class.
Awesome. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you. Happy 2025.
You're welcome.
And to you and your beautiful family.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at keyedinpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.